So I have 1 hour, right?
10 minutes.
Okay. Might be. I will have to omit some chapters. I'm Anoop. I'm going to talk about something. Arjun said pivot, right? And pivots we usually talk about in business or when your vehicle is meeting an accident. But let's talk about individuals as a human being. We also pivot. Some people call it becoming mature, but that's not cool enough, right? But what happens when you're mature, when you're growing, when your experiences start shaping you? Something happens, right? Let's explore that a little bit. From my perspective, of course. So, Simon Sinek is a popular guy. He's written a couple of books. He's got one of the most watched videos on YouTube. Start with the why. He talks about why. It's a very popular video. If you have not seen it, please take the time to watch it. It's a short one, 16-20 minutes. In that, he talks about businesses, the why of the business. The why does the business exist determines how the business does. But I have a difference of opinion. In fact, this comes from Balaji also. That it's not the business that creates the individual. Individuals create businesses, isn't it? And in that video, Simon Sinek actually quotes 2 companies, Apple and Dell. Similar companies, and he talks about the business why and all that. But let's talk about the individuals who founded the companies. Companies are started by people, and the personality of those founders influences how the companies do. Think about it. Who started Apple?
Steve Jobs.
Yeah, Jobs and Wozniak. And who started Dell? Michael Dell. They both started as computer companies, but they are in completely different directions, isn't it? Steve Jobs had, I think, 2 distinct eras that you can identify. The first era when he started the company and Apple I/IIs and all those, and then when he was fired and he came back, 1996 onwards. 2 distinct eras. So I want to talk about the second era of Steve Jobs, where he came in and he made Apple grow from a computer company to a personal computing device company. That is why you have iPads and iPhones and all those other things, right? It's no longer a computer company. Dell has remained a computer company for the longest time. Why? Because for Jobs, it was about creating something useful and beautiful. For Dell, it was seeking the most optimal way of managing the supply chain and logistics to get the cheapest computers possible. They started with different purposes. The reason they built the companies are also different. So what's the big deal about it? Now think of these individuals. What drove them? The why, the internal reason for them to do something. So as individuals mature, and Jobs might be a good example. He was fired, he founded other companies, he came back, and the direction and the trajectory changed. He was no longer about, let me push the most expensive computer that I feel is the best out in the market. Direction changed. It evolved. People mature. Companies should. So, what happens when you are a small business, you're not Apple, right? And you start feeling dissatisfied with the direction your company or business is taking. You have seen it multiple times. People start new companies on the side. They start changing what the company is doing. They start hiring different type of people, or they shut down. All of this happens. Now let me talk about how it happened to me. My favorite topic. So 8-9 years ago, when I did this exercise here in LEC, and in LEC, this why, the individual why is called a golden why. It's not a business's reason to exist, but the individual's reason to start a business. So the golden why exercise when I did this in a while now, I discovered that the golden why for me was enabling flow, removing obstacles. Precisely what you tell your plumber to do. and it's locked. Enable flow, remove that option. But if you think about it, the way that was worded is an operator's role. Is the role of somebody who comes and implements things, somebody who comes and does things, right? So what did that do? The wording kind of put me on a track, saying that hey, I feel this way, therefore this golden Bible, this is how I'm going to drive my business. But something was wrong. Over the years, I felt a disconnect. I could see what I'm doing, that lead generation and all those other good stuff, is helping the businesses, but clients are not 100% satisfied. There's always something missing. And the missing part was not what I did, of course. I can never be wrong, right? But the missing piece was how the clients were driving their businesses. Many of them were services, experts running their own, agencies or small houses, small outfits. And what used to happen is there was a dissatisfaction at the strategy level. I could see that, but I could not articulate it. I could not tell them, hey, this is wrong. Why? Because I trapped myself in the words I use. And that went on for a while. And I keep saying that I'm slow and steady, like the doctors. Takes time. But it evolved. I matured. There were a lot of reasons why I matured. But I could finally articulate what I was feeling. And that was finding clarity amid weakness. Businesses, when I'm talking to these founders, they say something is not right. I'm not growing. I'm stuck. If only I change that, if only I get the right people. I could start identifying the problems. I could start identifying where they are stuck. It was no longer about being a plumber. It was about being a strategist. The change of words caused a change in the business. The pivot happened. And the pivot happened because I was trying to seek clarity along with the client, not just give them a pipe or a pipeline. And that's a huge pivot. So feelings to words, it mattered. But how does that go into business? Can you go and say, hey, you know what? I'm somebody who will find clarity. Will you hire me? Obviously not. You're a sensible person. So how do you translate this to your business? I could translate it to revenue systems architect. Because ultimately my clients are seeking revenue. But the entire system is all over the place. So somebody has to come and architect that. And that's how that evolution happened. This seems difficult, right? I mean, what are you talking about? You're talking about feelings in business. Why? Because business runs with numbers. But the truth is, as human beings, we do run on emotions. So the bridge there is emotions to words and words to numbers. How do you go from your emotions, the inner feeling, which is part of your limbic brain? Some of these things are hidden away, right? And you're not able to articulate them in words. Can you really say how angry you feel? You just feel it. And then, after some time, how angry did you feel? Oh, I felt so angry, I felt like, throwing a rock. Or something more nefarious. But articulating that feeling is difficult. And some of this comes from within us. And that's why this golden Bible exercise helps to articulate those words. But once you have the words, don't get trapped by them. Because businesses are not run by words, they are run by numbers. So figure out what you want to do. The same words I used could be used by a data analyst. Right? The same words. But those are different numbers. Those are different experiences and expertise. What I do because I have the experience and expertise, and this is the direction that my golden Bible guides me to. So ask yourself, am I aligned with my work? Do I feel a sense of dissonance somewhere? Do I feel, what am I doing? If so, try to find your words. And that will happen when you try to find your golden Bible. So that's the why of why. Thank you.